Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning if you're calling in from a different time zone. I'm Benji Garcia, President of POWERinU Training and Coaching Philippines. And I welcome you to the complimentary webinar, Conscious Collaborative Murmuration, Unlock Your Team's Potential. Before I introduce the speaker for tonight, let me briefly tell you about POWERinU. Anchored in our faith and values, we collaborate to empower individuals and organizations to achieve sustainable results through value-adding consulting solutions. We take pride in our values of customer-centric, change advocates, passionate learners, and entrepreneurial leaders. We are a consulting, training, and coaching company with established global partners, and we offer the knowledge, expertise, and experience of a team of internationally certified high-caliber trainers, consultants, and coaches with experience in various industries across Asia-Pacific. Since 2016, we have served numerous clients in various industries, both local and multinational organizations. And our monthly complimentary webinars actually began in 2019, making this year, 2023, our 5th year of providing this service. So that's our plug for our company, POWERinU. Now let me introduce to you our speaker for tonight. Jennifer has 16 years of work experience. This includes holding various leadership positions in the BPO and the non-BPO industries, which includes publishing, pharmaceuticals, telecoms, energy management, and automation. She spent 6 years in shared services environment and 6 years in operations and support management, where she helped global, multicultural, and matrix organizations create positive work environments. In one of her current roles, she harnesses the power of gamification and youth-centered design to bridge diversity through communication. Jennifer is also the digital content producer and host of the Disruptors Hour in the New Channel, where together with her guest experts, she deep dives into the dynamic and ever-evolving topics of leadership, change management, transformation, innovation, and disruption. So everyone, let us all welcome Jennifer Nuya.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. I'm happy for the opportunity to share my work, which energizes every day. So we hope you enjoy today's webinar and find it of value to you. So Hedy, will you be able to share the PowerPoint presentation? Thank you so much. Okay, so first, before we start, can we know who is in the room? This is to quickly know everyone who is participating in today's webinar. What is your name, your company position, your interest in the webinar, and who is your role model? So I see on the chat, we have Ava, we have Ed. Who else do we have in the chat, Benji?
We don't have, we're still waiting for responses. So may I invite all the participants to please type in their answers. Okay, we have Alma Karim.
Hello, Alma. Happy to see you here.
We have Gerson. Ed
Okay.
Hewitt. Okay, we have Ava from Baguio General Hospital, and she says that she wants to improve her leadership in a new work environment. There you go.
Wonderful.
Maybe we
You're
can
in the
show the questions, the slides again, Hedy. If you can go back to the slide with the questions, the information that Jennifer is asking for. There you go.
Okay, Ed is asking in the chat what is murmuration. Later on, we will share that.
Okay, I guess everyone's a bit shy right now. So
All right. Okay, so thank you for those who participated. You can also use the same chat box later to ask your questions, drop in your comments, or anything that you would like to share with us. We will also, if given the time later on, drop links that you can click on or copy for later use. So in order for us to make the most of our time together, we recommend that you, as earlier in our webinar reminders, turn off all distractions and prepare to take notes, mental OEM, and just be fully engaged and focus in today's webinar. So, Hedy, can we move to the next slide? Thank you earlier, Benji, for the great introduction. So if I may add, my personal massive transformative purpose is to co-create the human collective experience. I believe that we all have different perspectives, we have different experiences and background, and this makes us the unique and special individuals that we are. Every human being has the potential for greatness in both general and in specific ways. And the key here is to collaborate, to have that potential greatness and connecting it to a collective vision. Now, having said that, I'm thrilled to share with you to facilitate today's webinar on conscious collaborative murmuration. Next slide, please. So what will we learn tonight? Explore the importance and benefits of conscious collaborative murmuration, investigate how technology can support conscious collaborative murmuration, and discuss strategies for scaling conscious collaborative murmuration for small teams to larger organizations, ensuring that the principles and values of such is maintained throughout the growth process. Next slide, please. So who is it for? This is for the thinkers and doers, the unicorns. I'm pretty sure that some of you are familiar with the word unicorn, goats, zebras, who would like to become conscious collaborators and want to shape the future of workplace. So what do we hope to accomplish after this webinar? Participants will be gaining self-awareness and confidence in their ability to navigate the changing business landscape and have the necessary tools and strategies to create collaborative and agile teams to remain highly engaged and efficient as the business strategy changes. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm pretty sure that you are excited to know what conscious collaborative murmuration is. So I want to think of this as a nature-inspired intelligence. And we can see it, for example, in the graceful flight of the birds. So we know that birds in flight, they can coordinate and collaborate effectively using several strategies and behaviors. So number one, they have flocking. They are organizing groups or in flocks, which helps them optimize maneuvering and adjust during migration and evade predators. So each bird adjusts its position, responding to the subtle movements of surrounding flock mates. And they also fly in V formation, Migratory birds like the geese, they fly in V formation that helps them brush off the updraft of the birds that are flying with them, thus saving energy. And the lead bird will rotate backward when tired and allows others to turn their turn, breaking wind. Synchronized maneuvering. Aerial maneuvering like banking or sudden turns are synchronized across the flock, and this is allowed or enabled by the constant visual monitoring of each other. Collision avoidance. Birds maintain appropriate distance and spacing adjustments to avoid mid-air collisions, even in large flocks or even in low visibility conditions. They also do information sharing. So birds use auditory signals like squawks or chirps to share information on threats, predators, food sources, or navigation within the flock. And they also have leader-follower dynamics. So those who are considered as elder of the flock, they guide the flock during migration. They provide coordination, insight, and navigation. Now, on a similar manner, we see bees also doing this in their hive colony so that they are able to function effectively and efficiently. They have specialized division of labor. So we see bees, builder bees, constructing the honeycomb. We have the nurse bees who are taking care of the brood, forager bees who are taking care of collecting the pollen and the nectar. And then we also have builder bees, if I have not mentioned it earlier. So they build a honeycomb, and this specialization of their tasks and responsibilities allows them to finish their complex tasks. And they also have information sharing, just like the birds. They use these complex waggle dances, quote unquote waggle dances, which shares information about the location and the distance of productive flowers. And there is also this beautiful thing that happens where they self-organize. They automatically changes roles and responsibilities depending on the need of the hive. So for example, if there is lack or there is low amount of nectar in the hive, some of the bees become forager bees. And also there are fewer nurse bees needed when the brood is low. So this emerges spontaneously. Now the hive is like a super organism where thousands of bees do their work. For example, if it's hot, they try to maintain the hive's homeostasis by fanning their wings, also taking care of dead bees. And if possible, if they need to find another nest, they work together to find a new place to live in. So this is a highly coordinated team. So given these two examples, we can say that conscious collaborative murmuration is an intentional and mindful, coordinated way of coming together and interacting. So we say conscious because it is mindful and it is intentional. Mindfulness is being present in the moment when you are collaborating, being conscious of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions as you collaborate with others, and keeping an open mind. And just having that, as one of my friends in the OpenExcel community says, relentless curiosity. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here, let's take a pause and give ourselves a few moments to do some honest self-assessment. So we have here the scale of competency, conscious collaborative murmuration. So we have needs improvement. So when we say needs improvement, you are exhibiting this, you grasp the meaning of conscious collaborative murmuration, as we have just previously discussed. This is minimal on the job demonstration, but when you say demonstrated, you are able to independently exhibit the capability of conscious collaborative murmuration. And role model, you have the ability to demonstrate exceptional capability or develop best practices or best methodologies to show conscious collaborative murmuration. So we're happy, we're excited to see what your responses are. You can put NI if you feel that you need improvement. You can put D if you feel that you are already demonstrating it. You can put RM when you feel that you are already role modeling conscious collaborative murmuration.
Please type your responses in the chat box and we'll try to read out some of those.
So we have 1D.
Yes.
How about the others?
I think the others are
The
doing
others are shy.
a deep assessment. Okay, we have another D from Ed. Thank you.
There's no judgment here. Just feel free to share. All right.
Okay, so far we've got 3 responses, all on the middle score, D.
Congratulations, everyone. You are demonstrating conscious collaborative murmuration. All right, so we continue. So next slide, please. Thank you so much. So I'm pretty sure that in the past or at present, you have worked or are working with virtual teams. So I know that usually when we hear the word virtual teams, we imagine teams working in different continents or different time zones. However, I'd like to submit an extension of that definition. So a virtual team is a group of people who work independently towards a shared goal, but as separated by one or more of the following factors. So distance can be more than 50 feet apart on the same floor, in the same building but different floors, different cities or different continents, organizational boundaries, they can work in different departments, business units, or divisions within the same organization or different organizations. And time, it can be same time zone, like here in the Philippines, but different shifts, like what we see in the call center industry or BPO. Next slide, please. So how do we ensure that we are managing our virtual teams effectively and promoting conscious collaborative murmuration? So number 1, manage by outcomes and not by process. Who wants a micromanager? I'm pretty sure that no one here wants a micromanager, right? I personally don't want a micromanager. Right? So instead of micromanaging, leaders should focus on results, clearly defining goals, setting key performance indicators and outcomes. Trust, I cannot overly emphasize it, is paramount, is essential to exceptional remote work culture or virtual teams. So we need to trust our employees. So one very good case study here is about Amazon. Amazon is very big on customer centricity and on outcomes. The company encourages its employees to learn about the desired customer outcomes and work backward to take actions on how to make sure that they are able to deliver exceptional quality service. So Amazon has built a culture of high performance and innovation because of this high trust culture. And another good example about this is Rolling Stone. I'm pretty sure that you are all familiar with Rolling Stone, right? So Rolling Stone allows their staff and contributors that editorial independence and freedom. Another example is the Four Seasons Hotel, a luxury hotel chain that is known for its exceptional customer service. They allow or empower their team members to go above and beyond to delight their customers. So someone, for example, a customer can call the concierge and ask for the croissant at 3 a.m. And that person in Four Seasons Hotel George V in Paris took the time to make a call to a nearby bakery and ensure that the requested croissant was delivered within minutes. So the customer was pretty impressed. Of course, I would be pretty impressed too if I were that customer. Was pretty impressed and left a letter of appreciation to the hotel manager. Support the development and maintenance of distributed environments. Okay, so it is important to build a strong sense of community for fostering camaraderie among your virtual teams. So you can host team building activities which discusses work-related, beyond work-related discussions like themed outings, game nights, or any virtual activity. So this can bond employees and build relationships even when they are not in the same physical location. Managed by problem solving, remain, of course, sensitive to time differences and stay more explicit in your communication. So earlier, I've mentioned that effective communication is essential in ensuring that we have good and exceptional virtual teams. So this is promoting that culture of active listening, open dialogue, listening respectfully, and ensuring that all perspectives are heard and considered. So how do we do this? So earlier, someone in the chat asked, how do we practice murmuration in this digital era? Okay, so we can use collaborative tools like Zoom, Google Meet, or Skype. And we have a new player in the market, Whereby. So I have used Whereby, and it's also a very good platform to hold daily or weekly meetings and encourage team members to speak up and share ideas. And then we can also choose a project management tool. So to track project updates, deadlines, or progress. Popular options include Trello, Asana, Jira, or Smartsheet, as we use in our organization. These tools will help team members to update task status, comments, and set deadlines. And you can also use collaborative platforms like MS Office, OneNote, Evernote, Google Workspace, and Microsoft Teams. So these tools can help your team members share files, discuss projects, and work together in real time. Next slide, please. Of course, another trend is multicultural teams. So how do we make sure that we are able to lead and manage multicultural teams? Number one is deal with people equitably, accept that diversity can add value. For example, in Red Cross, we know that Red Cross is made up of different individuals who come as volunteers. They come with different and diverse skill sets, knowledge, and backgrounds. They come, but they are synergistically working together to address health emergencies, disasters, or conflicts. But they are gelled because they work towards accomplishing common goals. They also coordinate with other organizations and agencies to ensure effective response to these conflicts, health emergencies, and disasters. So remain aware of your communication practices, recognize cultural stereotypes, particularly your own, create a framework for understanding cultures that are different from your own, and last but not the least, understanding cultural differences in both behavioral norms and language is vital to building trust. So what I highly encourage is, if an opportunity presents itself, volunteer to be a part of a cross-cultural project team. Seek best practices that are not from your own culture and then try, if it's possible, to adopt it. And then also request feedback and observations on how meetings and interactions go, expressing your desire to learn more from that other culture. Next slide, please. Okay, so leading multi-generational teams. 74% of hiring professionals say that a growing trend is in hiring practices is hiring for multi-generational teams. So in our organizations nowadays, it's not uncommon for people to see the convergence of up to 5 distinct generations in the workforce. So I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with this, with the baby boomers, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X. So this is one trend that is shaping the workforce right now. So consequently, this phenomenon can lead to some disunity, can lead to some conflicts or misunderstandings. The dynamics between employees, especially if you have managers and or employees of differing ages, who have experienced this, they seem to have a
Jennifer, we
different.
lost you for maybe a few seconds there.
All right. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for highlighting, Benji. So if I may backtrack a little. All right. So again, leading multi-generational teams, it is common for organizations nowadays to see the convergence of up to at least 5 different generations in the workplace. And consequently, this leads to some misunderstandings, potential conflicts, or schisms. And the dynamics can be magnified because of the difference in the ages of employees and their managers. This bears a striking resemblance to the multicultural teams that we discussed earlier, where they exhibit divergent sets of ways of working, customs, and they even speak different languages, right? So I have a millennial daughter, and sometimes I don't understand her when she's speaking because they seem to have a different language. So I imagine that the same to be happening in the workplace. So how do we ensure that there is conscious collaborative murmuration in a multi-generational workforce? Number one is to build trust. So I suggest that we first get to know our team members on a personal level. What are their interests? What are their backgrounds? Their dynamics and boundaries, so that we can use this information to approach them with more sensitivity and respect. So Google conducted a study of different teams, and they analyzed data from 180 teams on what makes a multi-generational team successful. Okay, so they found out from that study that it's not the personalities, it's not the skills, not the backgrounds of the participants that are most important, but rather the psychological safety that the employees experience in the workplace. This means that the employees themselves feel free to take risks, share ideas, and admit mistakes without fear of being judged or being punished. So it's again, going back to what we have been saying earlier, it's really important to build that culture of trust. And they have found out that people or teams with high psychological safety, they have higher metrics such as innovation revenue and customer satisfaction innovation. So we need to also again show respect. All right. So I highly encourage that we respect and we complement the institutional memory and abilities of our veteran employees. Okay, so there is so much that we can learn from them. So if I may share a personal anecdote, ever since I've been young, I have always liked spending time with my grandma. I feel that I'm my grandma's grandma's daughter, and she always brings me to events that she has with her buddies, with her church mates, and it's easy to fall in love with people who are seniors than I am because they are very generous with their time. They are very generous with their experience and with their background. So again, I highly encourage those who are millennials who belong to Gen Z to take the time to spend time with the veteran co-employees and learn from them. So valuing their contributions, valuing their accomplishments, and provide support and opportunities for growth. So look for chances to help your colleagues, to help in their workload, in their projects when the opportunity arises. This also shows your willingness to contribute to the team's success. Address any power dynamics. So this can be a significant barrier in the conscious or in attaining conscious collaborative murmuration. So as soon as it appears, I suggest that you address any power imbalances by fair, consistent, and transparent decision making. And last but not the least, celebrate successes, however small it may be. This can help build morale and reinforce the importance of teamwork. Next slide, please. Okay. So if there are any key takeaways from this presentation, I would like you to think of these 5 things. So conscious collaborative murmuration in a nutshell. Number 1, you can do this by fostering open communication, clarifying roles and responsibilities, setting clear goals. Number 4, embracing diversity. And 5, recognizing contributions. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're at the end of our presentation, but before we close, I'd like to encourage each and every one of you to take a pause and reflect on the following questions. Number 1, what valuable discoveries so far have you made, if any? Number 2, how will this information affect your personal and or professional life? And number 3, how can you use this information to best serve your client and or the community you are serving?
So once again, we request our participants to please type in all or some of their responses to these reflection questions from Jennifer. This answering this might take a little longer than NID and role model.
Okay, so while they're reflecting on the questions, Benji, I would like to say thank you, Ed, for spending your evening with us. Also, Ava, your idol is Sara Duterte. Wonderful. Thank you for your responses. And also, Ava says, her chief nurse, Sir Ching Hoselito Datut. Okay, Ed says his role model is President Trump.
Okay, we're still waiting for any responses. Okay, here's one from Ed. I realized that we are already doing it. We just didn't know. Okay. Congratulations, Ed.
I think I have that the same experience, Ed Benji, when you are already doing it, but you just don't know the term.
That's
You
right.
know?
Well, I had to Google what murmuration was when I first saw the title of your talk. So
Yes. And what did you find, Benji?
well, as you mentioned in your presentation, it's really a nature-inspired terminology because this term was originally coined for the behavior of birds, flocks of birds, specifically starlings, according to Google.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's unique to the starlings or perhaps other flocks of birds, other kinds of birds have the same behavior.
Well, migratory birds.
Okay, migratory
Yes.
birds.
Yes. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not only limited to birds. Bees also exhibit the same behavior, and also
Okay.
schools of fish.
All right. So I was about to say, oh, this is about the birds and the bees.
And
But
the
then you add, but
dolphins.
then you but then you added the fish. So
Yes.
okay, we have a response here. Accurate information results in productive output. All right.
Yes, that's correct. I totally agree, Elena.
Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation, Jennifer. And we're moving now to our question and answer portion. As you know, we'll ask our participants to type in any questions that they have, or if they would like to call out their questions themselves, please raise your hand and we will unmute you so you can ask your questions directly. I guess while we're waiting, I do have one question because as you mentioned in your presentation, this is really about nature-inspired behavior.
Yes.
So one of the questions that was on the chat box, and I'll build on it, is the birds, migratory birds, bees, and schools of fish are able to do it. What is getting in the way of humans being able to consistently? I think we can do it from time to time. Our teams are able to do, some teams are able to do it from time to time. The challenge is, how do you actually, what's getting in the way of humans actually doing it on a consistent basis?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure if everyone will agree to me. My initial thought is ego, tribalism, fear. For example, if unfortunately here in the Philippines and in some cultures, we are still individualistic, where we are always, I don't want to say always because that's overgeneralization, but there are times when we are looking after ourselves only. What is good for me, what's in it for me, rather than the common good. And also, I mentioned earlier, if a culture has high psychological safety where employees are encouraged to share ideas, take risks, and make mistakes without being judged, then you can see that there is high conscious collaborative murmuration compared to companies where there is low or non-existent psychological safety.
Okay, thank you. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that part of the big difference between birds and bees and humans is when you talk about organizations, at least in today's modern organization, you talk about organizations that are profit motivated.
Yes.
And I guess I don't speak birds or bees, but I suppose they don't talk about profits and how these are allocated among the different members of their team. So that probably is one big distinction that we, as you said, there's ego, there's, what about me, rather than being part of a team and working together with the team.
Yes, that's what happens, Benji. That's you are very correct in that viewpoint. If a company is very much profit driven and all they think are numbers, you can imagine that the employees themselves, they will try to one up each other to get that promotion, to get that increase or commissions, rather than cooperate, rather than consciously collaborate with each other.
Okay, well, I guess another question is that I guess nobody would, or very few would probably argue with your list of steps or components of how you lead in virtual organizations, multi-generational organizations, multicultural organizations. But to go back to a common term, it seems like an easier recipe, but it's really not that easy to do. As you mentioned a couple of times, psychological safety as part of research from Google gets in the way. So it's like, what's the how-to part
of the psychological safety?
Well, among those things that are mentioned, because you summarize them into a number of themes. So as I guess I'm asking that. It sounds easy. It's like listing them down. But I guess if it was that easy, then a lot of organizations would have been able to do that. But that's certainly not the case.
I hear you. I hear you. So as leaders or would-be leaders, I encourage you to lead by example, and how to do that is to consciously work on yourself. So before you can build that psychological safety in your work environment, I suggest that you work with yourself. Make sure that you erase that tribalism, ego, and fear, so that you can inspire the same in your employees. There's a good book, and I am, apologies for shamelessly plugging it. There's a book that I've read a couple of weeks ago. It's A World Without Fear by John Jones, the CEO of World System Solutions, wherein he mentioned that we need to work out. There are several steps on how to work through your fears so that you can release it, so that you can also inspire others to release their own fears.
Okay, can you repeat the title of the book and the author, Jennifer?
Yes.
Some of our attendees might be interested to get a copy for themselves.
Yes, so that's A World Without Fear by John Jones.
Okay, World Without Fear.
Yes. It's not an easy read, actually, because I have read it and I have tried doing some of the steps and it challenges you to look deep within yourself on what are your fears.
Okay. Very good. Well, we had a question. I think this was a pre-webinar question that was typed in by one of our registrants, and I think this is a specific case. So since the other participants are still thinking of questions that they might have, I think this is a situation where the person, I think the new leader is new to the organization. So the question goes something like, So how does a new leader in the team, how will that person, how could that person actually obtain or encourage the collaboration from the rest of the team
Mhm.
who have been there longer? I suppose that would be the situation.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. So before we, of course, if we are new to the team and we come with a lot of ideas, we want to improve processes, I suggest that you hold off first. Again, establish personal relationships first. Observe, talk to the people who have been there, okay? And then again, see what are the interactions, and if there is any area for improvement, please you try to address it as a constructive criticism. It's not you're trying to tear apart the institution or you're trying to tear apart the processes. And again, as I mentioned, compliment on their institutional memory. They've been there for a long time before you, so I suggest that you become sensitive and respectful of what they have achieved so far, even before you join the team.
I think those are very, very valuable points that you've shared, Jennifer. Relationship building definitely is critical, and I guess that's really why these days they keep saying that, or the experts keep saying, emotional intelligence being one of the key, if not the key, elements for success in navigating organizations, particularly for leaders, because you would need plenty of that to be able to build and strengthen relationships within the organization, including being able to foster psychological safety within your team and within your organization.
Yes, yes. So building relationships will form the foundation of trust. So people, and they also need to know that you care about them. One of my good mentors, when I was still starting in my career, said that people don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Right. So even if you're in a multi-generational environment, that logic still holds. I
Mhm.
mean, at the end of the day, we are all human beings.
That's very true. That's very true.
Okay.
And now that we've touched a little something about the multi-generational teams, right? So one of the common differences between the veteran and the younger ones is some of the veterans here, please let me know if you agree. So some of the veterans before, when they were starting with their career, work is work, right? So I go to work, I get paid, I'm happy because I have roof over my head, clothes on my back, food on the table, all right? But now the younger generations, they're flipping the stack on the workplace. They're asking, can I possibly have work that I love? So most of the millennials right now, they're looking for companies that are not only giving them the good salary, perks and benefits, but purpose driven. So they want to know that what they're doing is making the world a better place. They want to know that they are doing something that will improve the lives of people around them. So those are the things that hiring professionals would need to consider in their hiring process. In Washington, they have this salary transparency law already that they already passed. So if you are in the US and you want to post a job ad, you have to put there whatever is about the job, including the salary, the perks and benefits, so that the younger generation would like to work with you, knows what's in it for them.
That's great. We have a question now from Mark Francis, and let me read it. He says, as a leader, how do you deal with people who do not want to follow you or continue to disobey you repeatedly? Ah, matigas ang ulo.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what corrective actions have already been done, Mark, for these team members who appear to continue to disobey you repeatedly? Okay, but I would assume that here in the Philippines, most organizations, they follow the progressive rule of discipline, right? From written reprimand up to let's say final written warning and up to termination if the offense is terminable. So I would be curious, what are the interventions that have been implemented prior to the repeated behavior?
That's right. It's kind of difficult to prescribe because there could be a number of different reasons for that. So
Mhm.
I guess to your point, Jennifer, one would need to understand a little bit more what has happened. To your point, what's the history?
Mhm.
What are the details before you could try and say, well, here are possibilities in terms of what you could do, because
Mhm.
there could be so many different root causes, and it's important to understand what the root cause is if you want to apply the right solution.
Yeah, so we have a comment from another participant. Thank you for that response. Ed says fire that employee. As an HR practitioner for 12 years, termination is the last resort for me. Whenever I am faced with a terminable offense, I always ask myself, what is the most humane way of dealing with this employee? Because when you terminate someone, you not only terminate that employee, but you terminate also the livelihood of that employee's family, if especially that employee is the breadwinner. And then again, yes, verbal warnings. Mark said that he has already issued verbal warnings to that erring employee. This may not be common or this may not be popular, but per my experience, there's this one company that I worked for. For example, if an employee has intentionally or unintentionally committed a violation of the company's policies and procedures, he or she will be given, this is provided that, for example, it's provided that that employee violated uh, a company policy and procedure, and there is a required oversight from the immediate manager.
Mhm.
So for example, myself, if my employee, for example, was not able to detect a fraudulent transaction and went away with the order, for example, and per the company's code of conduct, he or she should be given a verbal warning, and myself as the manager should have overseen that before that order being processed. The employee would be given a verbal warning, but I, the manager, would be given the higher corrective action, because we believe in command responsibility.
Thank you, for providing your insights and your comments to some of the questions. We had a few more coming in. Unfortunately, I think that time has run out on us. So once again, thank you very much, Jennifer, for gracing us with your thoughts, with your conscious collaborative murmuration. So as we close tonight's webinar, let me just mention a few announcements. So you don't miss out, please subscribe to powerinU.com.ph to get updates on events, webinars, and free resources from POWERinU and its partners. Lastly, everyone can access the recording of this webinar through POWERinU's website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. Everyone who registered in this webinar will automatically get an invite to POWERinU's next complimentary webinar, which will be on November 7, 2023. And what is that webinar? Well, it asks the question, are you ready to propel your career to new heights? So join us in the next webinar as we discuss key considerations for career growth in an ever-changing and more challenging world. Our speaker will cover the following. First is the impact of artificial intelligence. How is AI reshaping industries and influencing career paths? Second, the work from home syndrome. I think that's still upon us and maybe not be leaving us anytime soon. Understand remote work dynamics and find a balance that enhances your career. The third one is sustainability and globalization. Explore career opportunities at the intersection of these powerful forces. And lastly, which we've covered a little bit today, generational disconnects. Make multi-generational differences work for you and your career advancement. So some things never go out of date. So we will also be covering timeless traits that fuel success. And what are these? We're talking about integrity, critical thinking, decisiveness, and experience. Finally, we will present a live case of an actual high-performing individual faced with diverse options on his career. What would you do if you were in his shoes? That sounds interesting. So don't miss out on this transformative experience. Register now and prepare to level up your career game. We also have our online master classes for the public. So ready to supercharge your leadership skills? Join our online master classes on leading others this month of October. Select and sign up from any of these 4 modules. On October 6th, that's this Friday, we have leading and developing others with emotional intelligence, followed by managing and resolving team conflict, which will be on October 13. And then we have engaging a diverse team to collaborate, which will be on October 20. And lastly, on October 27, we have the leader as coach. You register to at least 2 sessions and you can get a discount of 300 pesos off per session, but registration must be done one time to avail of the discount per session. So sign up now and see you at the masterclass where leaders are developed and empowered. And once again, before we conclude today, we'd like to ask you to, for 10 seconds of your time, to complete a short survey. You have the QR code on the screen, or you may want to click on the link that's sent out on the chat. So your responses will help us further improve our end. So thank you in advance for your feedback. Well, that's the end of our session, the webinar for this evening. Once again, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again in our forthcoming learning session, which is on November 7th. Until then, good night